Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show. As you all know, I've been away for a couple of weeks while I've been on holiday, and part of that holiday was to scout out possible locations for paranormal investigations in the near future. Well, it was a very successful trip. I have found some awesome places to investigate. I have come across several very interesting characters. I've been offered accommodation in and around the Pilliga area, so there will definitely be a trip to the Pilliga coming up. But before we go any further, one thing that I have realized I never seem to do on any of my videos is ask people to like and subscribe to the channel. I know it is something that YouTubers don't like to do, or some do, I guess. I don't like to do it, but I have noticed that when I look at the analytics, probably 80% of people that are watching or listening in on the show are not subscribed. So it would do me an absolutely massive favor if you guys could hit that like and subscribe. It's just a couple of clicks for you, but it really helps support the show and take it from there. Now, one of the characters that I met on this little holiday of ours was a lady by the name of Jill Blackburn. She lives out in the Broken Hill area, and she runs a paranormal tour called Outback Paranormal Tours. She is also an avid paranormal investigator as well as a psychic medium. I know they are not exclusively the same. They are both separate, but she does a little bit of everything, and she's an absolutely fascinating lady. I got to spend some time with her when I was over there and have some very, very, very interesting chats. And I said, look, I need to bring you on the show. And she said, I'd love to be on the show. So here she is right after this. Hey, Jill, welcome to the show. How are things going over in Broken Hill?
Hi there. Very hot. Very hot.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't like that when I was there.
We had a dust storm. No, it changes. We had a dust storm. We've actually had one for the last few days, so it's yuck.
I've heard about those famous dust storms over there.
Yeah.
So do you want to let everybody know how you started out getting interested in the paranormal? What took your interest?
It's actually fairly ironic. As a child, even as a toddler, I could see things, but everyone would say, no, nothing there, nothing there. And I guess it was very confusing, and I spent as much time trying to prove that there wasn't anything there, I guess. And then my grandma passed, and I was with her when she passed, and I knew that her soul had left. And then again in 2017, I lost my husband, and I basically said, well, I have to know if this is real because I have to know if they're safe. And that's when I started doing a lot of, I did quite a few courses and mentor, had a mentor with me for a while, and it works. It worked. I could actually communicate with those on the other side, and that's when I just went, this is what I've been experiencing my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's been real my whole life. So that's where I got into it, essentially. I just needed to know that a few loved ones were with me still and that they were okay. And the stuff that came through, every single one of us has senses and abilities that we can actually communicate with the other side. It's all about actually just trusting yourself and listening what they say and just saying what they say rather than thinking your own thoughts. Like, you doubt yourself with your own thoughts.
Yes,
so I'm one of those people who I like to try new projects all the time. So I did start reading. I was doing psychic mediumship. I still do. But then I started getting kind of ideas and communications and little dreams and things coming through about all of the people around here that have passed in the most horrific, tragic ways. And I thought there's got to be a way that we can validate them. And so I thought, radio, we're going to do a tour. So a lot of people think it's like a ghost tour, it's like a scary setup story thing, but it's not. It's actually, we go out, we talk about the history, the actual facts, and then we get out the equipment and have a go. So it's just been a progression, and I guess it's very. I just love it. The more I learn, the more I love it. I also run a spiritual festival out here that I start to get people out here. People sometimes are in the spiritual closet,
Yes.
and I wanted people to have access to the things that I knew might help them. So next year, we've just had our 3rd year. Next year's our 4th year, and we are getting upwards of 100 different practitioners, readers, like all kinds of people come to share their knowledge with us. For me, it's about validating and helping those on the other side just as much as the ones on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know when we were over there and you and I caught up. Now, is that I think that might even be the room that we were sat in when we had the chat and everything.
Yeah.
We both sort of came into it with the same ideas about spreading the word and letting people experience what it's all about, as well as, like you said, validation and helping people that need to be helped. But going back to what you were just saying about when you first realized you had these gifts, did it make you think back to when you were a child and any experiences you may have had as a child that now you're thinking it wasn't imaginary, it might have been real? Do you have any of those thoughts?
It's all real, 100%. What I experienced, my mother was very worried and scared that, something bad would happen if we connected. And she actually admitted to feeling that there was stuff around as well. But I had random things like, I know, I always talk to people and I say, I know I sound crazy, but I'm UFOs, I've seen Yowies, I've seen min lights, I've seen, full-figured spirits, all kinds of things. So they are all things that I have doubted myself, thinking, hang on, this sounds crazy that you have seen those things, but I now know it was all true. It was every single thing that I doubted myself on was true.
Yeah, and what you just said then, we've got so much stuff that we have to talk about. So much. I know we did have quite a good talk, but getting on to Outback Paranormal Tours, which is your little baby.
Yeah.
How did that, I know you said you wanted to start it all up, but what did you have to go through to get it started in the local area? Because what kind of experience did you have with local businesses about getting it off the ground?
So I have a business background. I used to actually be a lecturer at, I lectured over a few unis and did a lot of, marketing business stuff. So that side of it was okay. It was more, I guess, more getting through the mindset of people, I guess, and just sort of like, broaching the subject. Look, this is not entertainment. It's actually something real, if that makes sense. I'm not doing this just to scare you. I'm doing this to educate you. And I'm a bit stubborn with things like that. I'm very picky. I will, have less people coming on board, rather than all for money and, just a show. I want people to come on that really. So the business side was fine. I worked out. I got a little bus. I set that up. I was fine with the marketing and things. It was more about explaining to people what it actually was. and that it was actually real. We have a massively tragic history. It's a very short history, but massively tragic. Most people here in town don't know the facts, don't know what happened to people. So it was more about broaching the, saying that there's ghosts around.
They're everywhere. They're all the time, around us all the time. When you first took people out, how did they enjoy the experience? Because I know personally that a lot of people come in very apprehensive, and then a lot of people go out blown away. Is it the same kind of thing with your tours?
Yeah, 100%. I had actually uncovered probably 4 or 5 really talented mediums that didn't know they were mediums. I basically, when everyone gets on the bus, I say, okay, has anyone been on a tour before? And we sort of chat about that. And I say, right, well, this tour is actually about this, using the equipment and validation and things like that. I mean, I hope they're not just saying it to me when they get off the bus, but people stand around and talk to me for, 20 minutes, half an hour, just saying, oh, I thought that this is how it might be, or, I feel this at home, or it's opening up that it's okay to believe in this stuff.
100%, 100%. I get the exact same thing. I think a lot of people are apprehensive, and then when you turn around and you say, "Yep, I'm going to do a ghost hunt," and they're coming with you, they're freaking out. They're watching. They're listening, and they're getting comfortable with the fact that there are other people out there who are like-minded. And then when it finishes, and when it finishes, they're like, they just don't shut up. It's like the floodgates open and all their stories come out and all their experiences come out and what they want to do. And I think that's really good for a lot of people. It's a cleansing thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when did you actually do your first investigation, and what was that?
Just trying to remember. I've always had, I always say about the YouTube videos, it takes them 4 or 5 hours to film a 10-minute piece. Yeah. So I can't stand watching YouTube videos on, I do not watch paranormal investigation. Actually, they refer to it as ghost hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading books. I read, I'm always reading. I'm always on the internet, trying to learn new things. So I've actually approached it from more of a scientific thing. It was never about talking to ghosts. It was actually trying to prove that there are ghosts, I guess. And I've just gradually over probably the last, 8 years, since 2017, gradually accumulated bits and pieces. And I sort of followed kind of instinctively where to go and try and connect.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I've been trying to connect to my family members. So it's not really been it's been a gradual build up rather than a straight up thing. Yeah.
So when you do one of the tours, how many different tours do you actually run? Because there's a few locations within the area that you can visit.
Yeah, so we have what we basically do. The main tour is a 2-hour run. That's around town, and I usually, depending on what nights people want to go, I'll work around them. I do a 2-hour tour where I go to certain spots, probably 5 or 6 spots. I introduce area. I talk about the deaths, the stories, if there's any stories that we know. And at probably 3 or 4 of those locations, I'll get people out of the bus and I'll get them on the equipment. And so we're obviously looking for names and how did you die and years and, things like that. So we actually have all of the names and the dates. I've got all that information. So when we get that through, it's so exciting for them, and we do get it through. So, yeah. So it's more about like while we're driving, I actually talk about the different types of paranormal entities, and I always say in my belief and in my opinion, this is what I think how it works, and I always encourage people to build up their own knowledge. Yeah. So,
have you ever actually been inside one of the mines and done an investigation yet?
No, it is so hard to get. So I didn't answer all of that question then. No, it's really hard to get access to any buildings. Which is the other tour I do. I do a 4-hour tour, which is it's obviously a full investigation, and it's within the one location. I've done quite a few in the Silverton jail, which is interesting. It's good. I'm currently awaiting access to 2 or 3 other buildings. There's my cat going across the back there. Sorry. And a new kind of extra little tour I'm working on is actually an overnight tour. So I'll be going to places like Milparinka, Tibooburra, White Cliffs. So we'd travel up, stay, investigate, come back the next day. And they're just it's just a different location, just like a different,
No, I'm actually thinking about reaching out to, there's that mine on the way out to Silverton on the right there.
Daydream Mine, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting in touch with them or one of those places and see if we can get access. I mean, you could do daytime and do an investigation there because it's still pitch black in the middle.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about getting that, and we'll bring you in as well, because obviously we want to get in there and do something like that, because I haven't actually investigated a mine yet, and that is on my bucket list.
Yeah. Well, there's so many deaths, and there's so many horrific deaths, and I feel like there's so many spirits that have no idea that they're dead down, in the mines, because they're so sudden. I've actually been in Daydream Mine with my nieces quite a few years ago. And trying to remember, they're going to talk to you, I can assure you.
Oh, it's going to cost me a fortune in excess baggage bringing all the gear next time.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we've done a little bit of an introduction about some of the things that you do. I want to talk a little bit now about your experience with the Min Min lights, because that's a very uniquely Australian phenomenon.
Yeah.
So how did you go with that?
I have had a very one of my photos up on the mantelpiece is of a man that was incredibly important in my childhood, and he grew up. I grew up around him, and he would tell me stories about the Northern Territory, and he'd talk about these Min Min lights, and I used to have nightmares about them. I was horrified, thinking, oh, what are they? What? Oh my God, And he would sort of talk about when they were out droving, they'd send a rider out towards one, and basically all the creepy stuff that you never know what it is, basically. When I moved to Broken Hill, I moved to be here with he was my husband, to be at the time, and we were at the property next door. It was a sausage day, so we had those every year. We'd go and make like a couple of 100 kilos of sausages. And we were travelling home like 1, 2 in the morning, and we had a very drunk man in the back seat. My partner was driving, and I was in the passenger seat, and I said, why is the moon there? Like, why is it following us? I said, it's not changing angles. Anyway, Andrew basically sort of chuckled to himself and pointed over the other side of the vehicle, the driver's side of the vehicle, and said, that's the moon up there. And it hit me what it was. There is a lot of I think a lot of the Aboriginal people around here will say that they come out when you're being a bit cheeky and a bit mischievous. They pop out, and I certainly can tell you that the boys were being mischievous that day. It was like a perfect, big, orange, beautiful sphere, and it sat a couple of metres up above the ground. And when I remember and realised where we were driving, it was actually in front of a hill that we were driving around.
So what did they actually look like?
It looked like the moon. It just looked like the moon. Just an orb. It was quite large. I think it was quite close. But just like a glowing orb of light.
Did it appear to be moving to you, or did it appear fairly still?
Yeah. That to me, I said, it doesn't seem to be changing angles with the car. Sort of I was looking out the, sort of the edge of the windscreen on my side, on the passenger side. And that's what I said to Andrew, it doesn't make sense that it's like not changing angles, like it was actually sitting at the same angle to us as we moved. It was creepy, but amazing.
Have you heard any more stories about the Min Min lights out there in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, we have quite a few people that we've actually, there's actually a fellow up here. He was, he came up to do some research for a book he was doing on Min Min lights. And he was actually going out to all the different, outstations, like out at Menindee or, around the place on different stations, speaking to people that have seen them. He put a call out for stories and he got quite a few. So, yeah, they're around.
Yeah, I find that interesting. Are there any particular spots close by where there are a large number of reports, or is it just fairly spread out across the whole area?
I guess they're all over the place, but I think there's a fair concentration between here and Menindee, which is very flat, very, very flat. Whether I've watched documentaries on trying to work out what they are and, whether they're something like a UFO or a spirit, or if they are like some kind of formation of gas or whatever it is. But I kind of feel like there's a connection maybe with Aboriginal spiritual, they're kind of, I find that, and I find like it's the same with Yowies. I kind of find them, I'm intrigued, very intrigued by them. I'm not scared of them.
Yeah, we'll get onto them in a minute. We'll get onto them in a little bit.
I think it is a bit of a, I like that it's a mystery that we don't know.
Yeah. Okay. And earlier on, you actually mentioned that you've had UFO encounters, or you're interested in UFOs as well. Have you actually had encounters with UFOs other than the Min Min lights?
Yeah, growing up, we lived at the base of Barrington Tops, which is part of the Great Dividing Range in the Upper Hunter. So it's very mountainous and lots of trees and things like that. Our house was in the middle. Our neighbours were, 15 minutes away. And Mum would always tell me that the noises I could hear and the buzzing and the humming around the place was, an aeroplane or whatever. And I know for a fact that's not the case. I have had really bright lights shone in my windows. And I've done a lot of astral travelling with them. Like, I think I've been on board at least once in an astral travelling sense. Like I don't, I still have connections to that place with my beaming, like my astral travelling with the UFOs. And I have seen, anomalies, I guess you'd call them, in the sky that you just can't really explain away for something else. But often for me, it was a lot about the noises I could hear around the house.
It's interesting. when you think back to your UFO encounters, however you want to coin the phrase, how do they differ from the Min Min lights, the experience you had?
I haven't actually thought of it in that way before, but I feel like the UFO thing was more mechanical and was more it wasn't, I don't think it was just single energy. I think that there were beings, or there was more, it was more than just an orb of light. I feel like it was like mechanical and
Yeah, it's just a question I thought of, because obviously most UFO encounters, they're talking about some kind of, like you said, a mechanical or an electromagnetic kind of vehicle. And the Min Min lights, there's not a lot of detail on them. There's a lot of folklore. There's a lot of folklore about them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how you get the feeling that the Min Min lights are more of a spiritual anomaly in the sky, opposed to a technological. So I just wanted to ask, it was an interesting concept
absolutely.
to think about.
I hadn't actually thought of it that way.
Oh, look, this head goes into some very weird places. And all sorts of silly questions can come out from it. Some of them are good every now and then.
Yeah.
But
sorry, I was just going to say, I actually saw one here in Broken Hill. My mum and I were sitting out in the back of her backyard, and it was like the sky opened up and this giant silver sphere dropped, and it kept dropping, and then it, as though the sky opened up again and it dropped out again. And I looked at her and she looked at me. There's people who see UFOs a lot. There's a lot of light in the skies and stuff, but for my mother, who doesn't want any of this to be true, she saw that happen. And I thought, wow.
Wow. Oh, but actually, I think I'll share this story with you when I was over there. When we went out there a couple of years ago, I wanted to do some astrophotography out at Silverton. The plan was to go down to the Monday lookout, but the kangaroos, that wasn't happening. If you ever wanted to do a skywatch now, I think that would be the absolute perfect place, because you've got uninterrupted horizon to horizon sky.
Yep.
And, I do want to do that one time when we get there, but I think we'll drive there during the day. Maybe even, I don't know, camp out or something like that, because I don't like the idea of doing that drive back again. Not in a hire car anyway.
No, that's right. Well, you can take my car. I've got a fairly good bull bar on it. So
now, I know there's a lot of people that tune into the show and they love to talk about Yowie and Yowie investigations. It's funny because you mentioned about growing up in and around the Upper Hunter and stuff like that. We've actually had a guest on here recently who had a hell of an encounter in that very same area. How many encounters have you had with Yowies, and how did they go?
I can clearly say multiple encounters. Probably one major, and then others that I knew were happening, but they were looking in my windows. No, I did have multiple.
When you say major,
I grew up being horrified of like having, if there was a gap next to the curtain, because I could see their eyes. Yeah.
What's the most of them that you ever saw in one single go?
I think two, but mostly one at a time.
No, I mean, how much of the actual Yowie itself? Full body, or like a head or an arm?
Head, a face, like half a head and an arm and hand at one time. And the others were just sort of the smell and the eyes glowing, and like not an actual visual of them except for a sort of a shadow. Yeah.
Silhouette type thing. What colour were the eyes glowing on the ones you saw?
I did see some red, and also they were like, I don't know what, like a goldy yellow, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said the smell as well. Let's hear what the smell was like, because I've heard
really,
different encounters with different sort of smells.
The major one that I actually saw, sort of more of the figure. I don't recall the smell then, but I actually only connected it as an adult, but I remember it smelling like sewage sort of thing. I couldn't explain it other than sewage, and I used to think, like, there's just a couple of us in our house out in the middle of the bush. Why are we smelling that? And it sort of made sense. But I'd say, yeah, yeah. Certainly, it was gross.
Yeah, when you said you saw silhouettes and everything, was there enough of them? And how do I describe this? Was there enough of the surrounding area for you to gauge a rough height of the creatures you saw?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't really be able to definitely say, but I'd say though, I feel like that there's sort of tall ones and then there's shorter ones, and they were always the taller ones. The one sort of physically saw, I was on the back of a horse, sitting on the back of a horse, like a decent sized horse, 15 hands or something, and it was taller than me. So
on the back of the horse?
Yeah, 8 or 9 feet. Like I was on the back of the horse, and I was about early teens. Yeah, so it would have been 8 foot, something like that. I don't know.
If you're saying the horse was about 15 hands, obviously you're sitting on the back, and then I would have said closer to 9-10 feet tall.
Yeah,
That's
I'm sort of looking across. I'm looking across at an angle of about. They were slightly up the hill from me.
Yeah.
I was riding up a fire trail, so they were slightly up from me. But that tall, yes.
And what about the build? What would you say for the build on them?
I just remember no neck. That was the straight away a thing, no neck. And there's I listen to lots of podcasts and read things about them, and there are so many different variations of what people have seen.
Mm-hmm.
And some I completely agree with and some I completely don't. But I don't know. There's a sense that they're a primate and a gorilla and things, but like a leatheriness to the skin on their face and hand. But it's different.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance, go back through some of the episodes of the show, because I've interviewed Ray Doherty several times. In fact, he's a good friend of mine, and he is a very renowned Yowie investigator, as well as he's a journalist and a few other things as well. He's such a you'd get on like a house on fire with him, because he's into all the exact same stuff that we're into. And I can't say too much, but something very exciting is going to be coming out in the new year. And there's going to be a definite, I can't say too much, but there's a definite, there's some scientific evidence that has been tested and retested at several different blind locations. And we have a definite, almost genome, I guess. I don't know what the correct term is, because I'm not that scientifically involved in that. But you will find out in the coming months.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is very, very, very interesting. That's why I was asking, because with Ray, he's been investigating. He actually started out in investigating UFOs.
Oh.
And it was on a UFO, because he's from Queensland, on a UFO investigation, he and the people he was with had their first encounter with a Yowie. And that completely changed his area of study after that. And after all of his study, he has been able to say there are at least 5 different species of Yowie in Australia. As you were mentioned, the shorter ones through to the big ones as well. And then going back, I was asking all those questions about how the Yowie looked and how he smelled and things like that, because this hunter that I was talking about, who was actually up in the upper Hunter, there's a lot of hunters in there, he said that the encounter that he had, you could pretty much reach his arm out and touch this thing. It was that close. He didn't know it was there. It was in the woods. It was in some scrub just near where he was, and he just wasn't aware of it. All he thinks is that he was walking through into the area where this thing was, and he thinks this thing just went, too close, I'm out, and it walked out right in front of him.
Yeah.
And he said it wasn't a super massive one, maybe 6.5 feet.
Yeah.
And he said it wasn't what you see when you watch the American Bigfoot, these big hulking things. He said, picture a really good second row rugby union player. He goes, no neck, but that kind of build with hair. And what was interesting about it, he said there was no smell. A lot of people say there's a big smell, but he said there was no smell with this one. And he goes, and he just went sort of jogging off. It wasn't even a run. It went jogging off in front of him. And as it turned to go away, it looked back. And he said this thing, very similar to what you said, like a grayish kind of leathery face, very sort of almost humanish.
Human eyes.
But he said this thing had a beard.
Yeah. I don't know about a beard because I couldn't quite make that out. But yeah, there's recently been a guy, and it's on that show, the network, the Gaia network, and there's a fellow on there that's got it's been on. It comes up on Facebook, I guess, because I look up that stuff and obviously it pops up. But there's a fellow that's taken a photo of what he believes is a Sasquatch. I think he's in Canada. And I looked at it and I thought, I don't disbelieve in at all. For me, the eyes weren't animal-like. They were. There was a sentience about the creature that I saw. Yeah, the eyes. I was on a horse that we were trotting up a fire trail, and the horse just stopped dead and snorted and just, it wouldn't move. And this thing would have been probably, I want to say, 15 meters away from me.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I heard the crunching and stuff, and I'm like thinking, it's kangaroos coming through. There's obviously it's a very, very wooded area, and it sort of pulled across some saplings, and I sort of saw half the face, and I wasn't obviously right next to it, but to this day I won't ever forget that eye. It knew, like, I was scared as all get out, obviously, but when I think back, I don't feel like I don't think I was under threat.
And that's an interesting thing that you say there, because this gentleman that I interviewed previously, he said he didn't feel threatened. All he got was the feeling that this creature was like, no, he's too close. I'm out of here. No, he said this thing, it was that close. It could have just gone, and he goes, with its build, it could have probably broken his neck without even thinking about it. He said, but it just, no, I'm out of here, and it took off. He got the feeling it might have been a juvenile.
Yeah.
And it was just coming in to have a look. But what he said was he was in that area for that long doing his hunting and stuff like that. He said that he would have seen this thing if it was coming. He goes, that thing had to have been watching him for hours, just curious as to what this weird man with the big boomstick was doing,
Yeah.
No idea about what it was,
Yeah.
what this gun was or what it could do, and just no fear there. And he goes, and there was no threat. He goes, because he was just walking along, this thing just came straight out in front of him. He goes, he wasn't demonstrating any kind of threatening behavior that might have got the creature into a defensive posture. But he goes, yeah, it just jogged. He goes, it didn't even run, it just jogged. I mean, he goes, it's jogged because of its legs was still faster than he could do. But he goes, it was just arms just down by its side, wasn't doing the whole pump the arms up, just jogging along. So I do think a lot of them are curious, and a lot of interactions are misunderstood or misrepresented.
Yeah, I did hear a noise before when I was coming up the hill that was like I want to say like a howler monkey, but deeper. And it wasn't a growl. It wasn't a roar. It was like a whoo sort of thing. And when I think back to it, I wonder if it was him. I say him, but I also I can't, hang on. I've got to use this hand to show you. There wasn't like the whole primate thing here.
Wow.
It was more, and more round. I can see how people say a primate if they don't get a whole view of them.
Yeah.
For me, I think, they're a completely different. I have actually read somewhere that people believe that that aliens have messed with human DNA. So we were whatever, we were cavemen, and they added a little bit of their DNA, and now we're human, and that Yowies could have actually been a natural progression of that original caveman. I'm just saying, I read everything and throw it out there because, unless I can prove it wrong, I still give it a go. So,
well, this is why I want to say things, but I can't. And obviously, because of this, and because I'd like to say things, I haven't been told everything. But I just can't say. It doesn't involve aliens, but it's some very interesting stuff. But when you look at a lot of stuff over in America, there's a lot of reports, just to back up what you're saying there are a lot of reports when there are UFOs that there are, well, obviously over there, Bigfoot sightings in the same area. So they've sort of started tying the two together, and then they start talking about portals and things like that as well. So it's a fantastic subject that we like to get involved with, because it goes in so many different directions, and everything, there is a connection left, right and center all over the place all the time, and it's really interesting.
Yeah. That's exactly why I am into this. Like, I know what we are and what we live and what we, think is nothing at all close to what the truth is, or how, how different and amazing it is. And I think that's why I go from project to project and read so much, is so that like I said, it might sound crazy, but if you can't prove that it's wrong, then I'm not going to put it down either. I used to be a statistics lecturer for a while, and I can tell you that the only reason that medicine is medicine is the absolute bottom line of things these days is because they've studied it with results and given out stats. The problem is we can't go and count all the Yowies and do a research paper on it and give you the stats and tell you that we can prove it. So realistically, medicine started off just as snake oil as any of this. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And what's interesting is, like I said, can't get into it, but what scientific information he got back from these samples is, how am I going to put this without actually giving anything? You're just going to have to wait. But what science actually found shouldn't exist, couldn't exist in the modern world. That's all I can say. I'm not going to go any further than that. But
yeah. Well, look at the ocean. Look at the ocean. What do we know? 10% of the ocean? Some little tiny amount of the ocean, and there's all this massive amount of the ocean. We still they still pull out in their nets random fish that no one's ever seen before, and
I can't remember what the figures are. Yeah, they actually reckon that there are so many new species that are found and discovered every single day or every single week.
Yeah,
and on the same forecast, there are several species that are dying out and going extinct. What about the really old species that there's just such low numbers? And I'm not going into that either because that's all involved. But in such low numbers, that encounters are very rare.
Absolutely. So with the stats view on things, if 50% of people think one thing, that could just mean 1 out of 2 people. Like, statistics don't actually mean a hell of a lot. So it doesn't matter that there's not a lot of them for them to be real, to be honest.
No. They're just as big an endangered species as the tiger or any other one of those,
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I don't know if I want to come across one again by myself, though. But
you just have to take a camera with you wherever you go.
I know. I just this is back in. It would have been. Oh, it would have been 1993. I think it was about year 10. Yeah. So we're only just getting the internet. We actually don't have the internet yet. So back before that was even a possible thing. There was also a great big rock pile at the bottom of the hill and a big burnt, perfectly round circle, not too far away as well. And I often wonder if that was some kind of, part of his domain or.
It's interesting because they are known for building structures.
Yeah, it was the most perfectly, it's like a perfect pyramid of river stones. And I said to Mum, how did that get built? And she's going, oh, someone must have built it. Like, they must have got an excavator. And I'm thinking, you could not do that with an excavator. Like, it was perfectly, put together.
Wow.
There's just lots of little things around the place, I think, that really, when I think back on, like I said to you, I spent so much of my time trying to convince myself things didn't exist so that I wouldn't be so scared.
Okay. Knowing what you know now and being the person you are now, if you had the opportunity to go back in time and say a few words to your younger self about all this, what would you say?
Well, I'd say it's real. I think it's real is probably my biggest. That was my thing. It's real. And I would have probably, because I used to get all the messages and things. I'd get when someone died in the area overnight. I'd get up and tell Mum that such and such had died. My grandma did the same thing. But I was always told, no, you can't do that. Just forget about it, that sort of thing. But if I went, I'll tell you, this probably equals the same thing. My little boy is 5, and I believe him if he sees stuff. I've got a friend who's her little girl's 4, and I go around to her house quite regularly and just check out who's around, because she'll be having a dream. I would never deny the truth of anything, and I would always support them in their, like, I didn't sleep till I was 14. I was so scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like the way you're thinking, because one of the things I always go into, and I have many discussions, and Lynn, my wife, can sometimes blow her head off her shoulders with some of this stuff, because if you go back 500 years, 1,000 years, magic was so alive back then because imaginations were much, I mean, not that they knew what imagination was, but everything was possible, you know. Then as we started doing things like gunpowder, I mean, the Chinese had that for years, but you start doing that, then you start bringing mechanics into it. And then as science starts to take hold, a lot of that magic gets washed away, and then you forget a lot of these skills that you used to have. And now, when you start school at 4 or 5 years old, the first thing they start doing is conditioning you for adulthood. All the magic is getting sapped out of the world, and people like you that and everybody else that's prepared to let their kids go to the levels that they need to go to with this and understand that, yes, it is real, but, you know, you can control it to a point. I think that is the way we need to go, because the world has become so boring now.
The word you said in there was science is what I think caused a problem, and I think science is a form of control. And you'll note that here's me trying to prove to myself scientifically that things are true or not true. I don't need science, but I kind of like want to say, well, you know, basically up yours. It is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my little guy, he has really bad dreams and things, and I was the same. He actually said to me the other day that I can't remember what they said, but he said to me, a man whispered in my ear something or other. When he was going off to sleep, I was sort of laying there with him, and I said, "Oh, what did he say?" And he just, you know, chatted away, and I didn't say, "Oh no, he didn't," or whatever. I just said, you know, I basically left the door open for him, that if he has experiences, that I'll support him.
Yeah.
And I support everyone else's kids too. I get phone calls every so often and say, "Can you come over to, you know, cleanse the bedroom or whatever?" But yeah, I also take, I know it might be controversial, I guess, but I do take, you know, I'll take a busload of 12-year-olds or 11-year-olds on a tour, but I'm obviously very careful with what they're, you know, doing, but I'm trying to educate them what entities there are. I always show them, you know, the electromagnetic field, you know, the frequencies that we can see as humans, and that there's so much that we can't see that could be standing right beside us.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just, you know.
Yeah. Even in our visual spectrum, which is a very, you know, I mean, we think it's all encompassing, but it's actually very narrow in the whole thing. But we only see in the visual light spectrum. When you go off one side, you're going into infrared. You go the other side, you're going into ultraviolet. There are others beyond that as well. You know, we're limiting things by our own understanding, but there's so much more to it. And then there's so much more beyond that. And that's why we use these bits and pieces, is to actually, we'll use full spectrum cameras, or we'll use this, or we'll use that to try and see into those areas of the light spectrum. And it's the same with hearing as well, where, you know, the human ear can only hear in these frequencies, but it goes so far that way and so far that way. Voice recorders pick a lot of that up. But again, only to a certain point. And that's only with our own frequency. If you start shifting into slightly different phases and wave, it exponentially grows, and the possibilities grow with it. And that's what I'm saying, is there's a hell of a lot more to what we know.
Yeah.
And that's where we go. I'm not in it to prove anything. I'm in it for my own fascination.
Yeah.
And yes, we will use scientific equipment like EMF meters and bits and pieces like that. That's not to prove to somebody, because it doesn't matter who they are. If they're in the science background, they're going to be able to come up with a valid excuse for just about anything that you might want to pick up. That's because they're so skeptical. I mean, you go back a few hundred years, they were saying the world was flat. You know, you'll sail off the edge, and the earth is the center of the universe. science did get to the point where we know what we're at now. And there's still some idiots out there that say there's a flat Earth going on, but you know, my thing is, if it was a flat Earth, your little cat would have pushed most of the stuff off the edge by now. So,
yeah.
but yeah, okay. So we're just about out of time. So with your tours and with this expo thing, what's next in your journey?
Sorry, I've actually got this week. I'm taking my mum and my little boy. We're going to Milparinka, which is about 300 k's north. It's just a pub and a couple of buildings. I don't know why, but I feel really called to tell the stories of people that aren't in the history books, but contributed in such a massive way to the way we live out here. Living in the outback is different to I've lived in Melbourne, Sydney, Newcastle. I've lived all over the place. I've lived out on stations. And even in these days when we can drive into town and get food or go drive into town and see the doctor, there was women that who were widowed by the war, who went to medical school, came back, bought a buggy, and went around the community birthing children, and so that the birth rate would, stop. They were losing so many babies, obviously.
Yeah.
There's this amazing woman, Eliza Kennedy, that I want to go and research. On her gravestone, it says, it's actually a Bible verse, but it says, I think something or other covers a multitude of sins. And I want to know, what are her sins, why is that on a headstone? So basically I've been given access to the archives. And what I'm going to be doing is I'll be going through everything, finding out information on each person, and then I'm going to go to whatever site it is that's relevant to them and try and contact them with the equipment, and try and video it in some way. But it'll take me all over far north, far west to New South Wales. So it's just an extension. It's just instead of it being about, getting tourists to come along, for me, it's about validating the lives that founded us here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
So that's what I'm gonna
really
do.
good. I think it's really good because you're teaching the younger generation that there's a lot more to even. I mean, those of us that have been there and those of you guys that live there know that Broken Hill is not what it used to be. And there is so much that's happened there to build it. I mean, God, it's one of the most famous places on the planet when you talk about BHP and things like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? A lot has come out of that little town. And it would be nice for people to learn a little bit about the history and a few of the characters that have walked its streets.
There's people like from all over the world founded this place as they did, after colonization as well anyway. But like I said, it's these. I'm calling it the Outback Unseen, and so those who are I can't remember my tagline, but it's something like those buried lay quiet, but never silent.
Yeah.
So. So basically, I want to see if I can do some historical ghost hunting, and I just want to give people the opportunity. They don't have to, if they're not interested, that's fine. But I want people to have the opportunity. But more than that, I want to pay respect to what those women. I'm going to work on women at the start. What those women did to found this place in such a horrific, hot, stinky, There's no shops, there's no doctors. They were incredible people, and I think they deserve to be, known.
And exactly.
Yeah.
All right, we are out of time now. Before we go, do you want to let everybody know where they can find Outback Paranormal Tours, websites, social media and stuff like that, just so they know how to find you if they want to chat?
Yeah, sure. Pretty much if you search Outback Paranormal Tours, we are on Instagram and Facebook. I'm also on TikTok as Outback Paranormal Tours, but it's also got the festival on there, but you'll still find it there. And then outbackparanormaltours.com.au. And then if you want to get any info, like email me. It's boo, so BOO at outbackparanormaltours.com.au. And boo is the name of our bus.
There you go.
Just letting you
All
know.
right. One quick thing. Do we have a date yet for this festival next year? Locked in?
It's not locked in, but I'm hoping it's the first week of, I'm hoping the long weekend in October, but I'll let you know if you look Outback Spiritual Festival on Insta, on Facebook, and outbackspiritualfestival.com.au. You'll find us. I'm the person behind all of them. So if you send something, if you reach out on any of those platforms, I can answer your questions.
Well, not only that, it's a good chance for anybody from around the country. If you have a stall that you want to do there, if you want to, I'm not sure how it all works there, but a lot of people have stores where they'll sell goods or they will provide services and things like that. I'm hoping to have a chat with a lady about possibly doing a live stream or live podcast while we are there to everybody around the world and get it out there.
Yeah. It's sort of very much, I moved here 20 years ago and I'm still here. I moved here, I say for love, and I'm still here because I fell in love with the place. As much as it is to get people here for the locals to see and experience, it's also about getting everyone from all over the world. And we have actually had people from all over the world come from, different, I nearly fainted when they said, we've come from wherever. It's for them to come in and experience Broken Hill, and it is a spiritual place, and it is, it's something you need to experience at least once in life.
Just to give everybody a little bit of heads up on it all, it is the place where BHP was born. Well, Silverton, technically. It is the place where Mad Max 2 was filmed, or a majority of it was filmed. It is the place where Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, was filmed, and I know that very well because the time before last, we arrived right in the middle of the Broken Hill Festival.
Yeah.
And there is so much more. There are a lot of famous people that visit. So if you ever get the chance, get out there, and especially get out for this festival because we will be there. I know I've got a lot of people that tune in from New South Wales, so we will be doing some more crosses as we get close to that, and we will chat about what people can expect. And I'll bring, like I said, bring the gear over, and we can even try and arrange a couple of tours while we're there as well.
Absolutely,
Get everybody to come along with us so they get to see what it's like. And for anybody who has issues driving, you don't have to worry about 3-point turns in Broken Hill. It's got the widest streets on the planet. They're massive.
They made them very wide, yes.
They did.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jill, thank you very much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And we'll be in touch again because we've got a lot to talk about for the next visit.
That's right. Thank you so much for having me, Gary. It's great.
Not a problem. All right. Until then, take it easy, everybody. And thank you for joining us.